All right, I'm here with Dr. Fraser Neiman. He's with Monticello University of Virginia, and he's here on Nevis doing some archaeological work. And I'm going to just turn it over to him and let him tell us what it is that he's doing and how it impacts Nevis.
Okay, thanks, John. Well, we are here with a sort of collaborative team of folks from Monticello, University of Virginia, University of Mary Washington, University of Southampton in England, and the International Slavery Museum in Liverpool to do a couple of surveys of two slave village sites here on Nevis. One at New River, which is on the Atlantic side of the island, and one at Jessop's, which is on the Caribbean side of the island. And both of these slave villages were occupied in the 18th century. Both of them, actually, the occupation seemed to end at the end of the 18th century, and then there's a switch in the location of the slave village to, in both cases, the other side of a gut, a big drainage.
Really?
And we're really kind of interested in trying to figure out, first of all, how slaves lived during the 18th century, what kinds of settlement compounds they had. Were there little neighborhoods within the village? Was it all one big kind of even spread of houses? And then secondly, we've actually just kind of stumbled into this settlement shift thing, and we're very interested in trying to figure out, well, if our current very crude estimates of the timing actually correct. We need larger artifact samples to do that. And secondly, if they are correct, why does this happen at the same time in both places?
This brings up a question. How did you find these settlements?
Well, one actually has been the New River site. There was some previous work done there by Jim Chiarelli, who at the time was with Earthwatch, who worked at Coconut Walk, which is the next plantation down towards the ocean. And Jim, kind of thought that the New River slaves village was somewhere in the vicinity. He actually found the later early 19th century village, or thought he had. He was correct that did that. And actually through a plat that Roger Leach had found in England, it's a 19th century plat that it gives us the location of the former slave village. So we kind of, by putting together Jim's stuff with Roger's stuff, we were able to sort of zone in. Then we were able to confirm that this in fact is the site of the village by just going out there and looking carefully at the ground. Much of the village site is currently agricultural fields.
And it's being plowed up.
Yeah, it's being plowed up. So just by looking at the surface, we could see mid to late 18th century artifacts. Lots of what we call Afro-Caribbean wares. These are local pottery that's made probably on Nevis by enslaved people themselves. And actually, Jessop's is a sort of similar deal. In that case, Roger Leach again found in the archives in England a plat, which was a map. It's a beautiful color map of Jessop's estate, which was made in the third quarter of the 18th century as a result of a family dispute over the ownership of the estate. And this plat again shows us the location of the slave village. So in both cases we had, and again in the Jessop's case, we were able to go out there and actually work with you a couple of years ago to do some preliminary work, putting in shovel test pits, because Jessop's is not cultivated; it's heavily forested at the moment, and confirm that in fact we were getting artifacts of the right date. Lots of again Afro-Caribbean wares. And so we're actually, those data from our Jessop's work are up currently available for people to get a look at and
how do they
download.
Do that?
If they go to our website, which is www.daacs.org, and DAACS stands for Digital Archaeological Archive of Comparative Slavery. A mouthful. That's why we call it DAACS. And so DAACS.org, and actually DAACS is a project that I and Jillian Galley, who's my colleague back at Monticello, we've kind of been putting together over the last, I guess what now, 6 or 6 or 7 years, with funding from the Mellon Foundation in New York and the National Endowment for the Humanities, as well as some private Monticello donors. And the idea here is to put together in a single place large amounts of very high quality archaeological data from slave settlement sites, not only in Nevis, but also in Jamaica, and in South Carolina and the Chesapeake region as well. So the idea here is to try to build a large resource that scholars, archaeologists can tap into and begin to do comparisons, sort of statistical, quantitative comparisons of what the assemblages generated by enslaved people in the 18th and early 19th century look like, why they vary across space, how they change over time.
One last question, Fraser. You said the one site is in the agriculture area, and the other one is right on the edge of a development.
Right.
Now, any chance we're going to lose both of these sites?
I think the one in the agricultural area, I think, is a little more protected because it's owned by Nevis itself, the government. Yeah. And the Jessup site, on the other hand, which is actually has already been adversely impacted by development, things are a little less clear there. And actually, one of the motivations for our work this summer is to make sure that at Jessup's this summer is to try to make sure that we collect some information now before development destroys it. And that's kind of the archaeological record is, it's a wonderful thing. It can tell us all kinds of really cool stuff about the way people lived in the past and how their lives changed, and then most importantly, why their lives changed. But the downside to it is that, when you build a house on top of an ancient site, it destroys the evidence. Yeah. So there's this kind of people refer to this as the non-renewability of archaeological resources.
Okay, well, excellent. I really want to thank you for taking the time to, and your organization, to come to Nevis and assist us and to do the work that you're doing, because it means so much to us and for us to know that there are people out there like Monticello and Roger Leach's group in the UK that really have an interest in Nevis.
Well, thanks for having us, and it's a delight to be here, and we're learning lots of neat stuff.
Right.